Hello, hello. Happy Friday, everybody. It is July 10th. Hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to Music Effect Design, where we demystify the world of music education and the marching arts. I'm your host today, Jordan Pittner. We have a really awesome guest and an awesome topic tonight. We're talking leadership with our specialist, Tori. Um, Tori, how you doing today?
I am great. I'm settling in. I just moved to Indianapolis, so I'm settling into my house, and clearly I've been doing a lot of housework with my handy tools. But I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's weird. Like we talk all day, every day. So it's weird to start like our 50th conversation of the day with how are you? Um,
For sure. We've literally been talking since like 4 a.m. this morning.
Yeah, for you were up pretty close to me or before me or something this morning.
Yes, and I went to bed after you. I just couldn't sleep last night. One of those days,
Gross.
the world
That's
got me
so it's
anxious.
like, believe it or not, it's super hot in Arizona right now. I know, shocking, and like it's not cooling off fast enough. So like I'm working really early shifts at my part time job, and it's like almost 79, 80 degrees every night when I'm trying to sleep. It's miserable. Yeah,
I
it's
couldn't do
brutal.
that.
Oh well, it is what it is.
Luckily, you got me a fan for my housewarming present, so I have a fan that I'm not that hot in the middle of the night. So thank you for that.
Is it this fan?
It's that fan.
Holly preaches the gospel of that fan, and
I was
it
like,
checks
oh,
out. It's pretty great.
it's so good. Yes.
Yeah,
So
I'm all about it.
sponsors.
Um, yeah, yeah, it starts with an H and rhymes with Bunnywell, and we highly recommend it. Uh, so, hey, let's talk leadership instead of air conditioning today. Um, so, if you don't know, anybody watching, uh, Tori was spearheading a leadership program for us. Well, I say for us, part of our programs, but really for students who are in leadership positions this fall. So I guess I want to start by talking about what was some of the inspiration or the driving factors behind creating a leadership program right now.
So whenever we first started MED, I was really passionate about the student side of things. At the summer camps that we met at, and in my everyday life, I try to be very student focused in how we can reach the students and how can we best be our like the best selves that we can be to affect the students, those types of things. And I was thinking when all of the shutdowns started to happen, I was really anxious about everything that was going on in the world, like I'm sure everyone was, and thinking about all of like the leadership camps that got canceled this summer and all of the missed opportunities that students are like experiencing right now. So I was thinking about how we can best reach students and support directors at the same time. So I know that when I was in high school, um, I was the drum major. I always forget that fact. Like, I don't know why I forget that, but I do. I was the drum major for 2 years, and my dad was the band director. And for years, I would watch him run these leadership sessions, and I would always be like in awe of how we could get these like weird teenagers to come to like a teamwork and be able to achieve these great things. So when I was actually a part of the leadership team, I got to kind of see the behind the scenes of what he did. And he was a band director for about like 20 years. And he did some great things while he was there. And then he transitioned to be a principal. So he obviously really liked the leadership side of things and development side of things. And so what he would do is he would find a book and print off the pages. I don't know if that's very legal, but that's what he would do. And he would let all of his students read like little clips of a book. And then we could discuss like what we got from it, or he would give us some like discussion questions that we would talk to each other about and just kind of develop our own minds. But the cool thing was that there was always a point at the end that he wanted us to get to. So it wasn't just like this random video that we would watch and then have like a discussion and we were done. Like there was always a point where he wanted our group to get to. And I think that's where a lot of our teams need the support is what's the end goal? What's the end goal that I need? Where do I want my students to go? And I kind of stole that idea from my dad of, well, what if we turn this into a book club? What if we gave a director an end goal? What if we gave the students a workbook that they could write down and interact with? What if we gave them activities to link these questions and responses to, and just really open their eyes and dug a little bit deeper on how to be better leaders? And honestly, in this day and age, better people, I think is what is on my mind a lot. Like, how can we just make these students that we're affecting better human beings to get them out in the world and be effective leaders wherever they are. So that was kind of the long-winded version of what I was thinking when we first started all this. How can we get students and directors to be better? How can we develop them?
I love it. I think, to me, the best band directors are the ones who are focused on that aspect. Or, I don't want to limit that to band directors, but in the context of starting the fall in the marching band, I think it's very easy, and I'm guilty of this too sometimes. It's really easy to get to a place where you're like, I just need to do all of this. Like, I'm the adult in charge. I need to take care of all this. But there's a million factors on why having your students manage some of that is better for you, better for your program, and most importantly, better for your kids. Can you speak to some of those things? I can contribute some of those too, but I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Oh, for sure. So, the book that we chose was The Energy Bus. That was the first book. I'm sure we're going to have plenty more, but The Energy Bus is really focused on the energy or the commitment from the members. And that is very student driven. The environment that you're creating doesn't always have to come from the adult, right? So getting the students involved in those types of things is super important. And like you were saying, if the adult doesn't always have to be the one to foster all those things, but they can be the one to start the conversation of, this is how I expect this to be ran, and then train their kids so they're not kicking themselves in September saying well, I thought I told you to do that and then you never did, and going down that rabbit hole that I'm sure we've all experienced. So training them right the first time so that the kids can be more involved in those types of things. What are some of your examples that you were thinking?
Well, I mean, from a practical standpoint, it just makes your job easier in a lot of ways. Of course, you have to be a facilitator and a mentor and a good guiding example of what good leadership is. But I'm telling you, it's like that. I don't know if he actually said this or not, but I always hear that Abraham Lincoln quote where it's like, if I had 4 hours to chop down a tree, I would sharpen my axe for 2. Like that kind of, really focusing on.
I definitely didn't say that, but yes, I see where you're going.
Right. Just focusing on the things that's really important. It's probably going to feel, in my experience, it feels a little bit upfront, a little bit slow, but it's getting the snowball building as it goes down the hill,
Absolutely. And it pays off in the end for sure. I think that's what a lot of, especially newer groups, let's say a band director is new to a school, or let's say that there's a staff member that's new to the school. Building that type of environment isn't going to come in a day, right? So that's going to develop, that's going to have to be built. So like you were saying, with Abraham Lincoln, you have to really put in the work at the beginning. That way in September, October, no matter what your seasons look like, we haven't gotten into that yet, but no matter what your seasons look like, that is already taken care of. You've already told your students, hey, in this situation, this is how we should be reacting. This is how we should be preparing. And all that stuff is just going to naturally happen if you train your students to do so. Mm-hmm. Not just, I should say this, not just tell them.
Right.
Get them involved. Actively get them. That's what this program is for, right? So lead them to those things and not just be like, this is what I need you to do. They're teenagers. I don't even learn that way. So leading them to those conversations, that way that'll stick better. They're leading, you have that one that's like lead the camel to the water. You speak in so many like
I
quotes
do.
that I don't know. What do you know what I'm
Well,
talking about?
I mean, there's the popular, like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Is that what you mean?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly
Okay.
what I mean.
It's funny to hear you like attribute that to me. Like that's such like to me that's such a universal thing. I was like, oh,
No, a lot of the things that I hear are you. Like it's all you.
I just copy everybody around me. I don't know that an original word has ever come out of my mouth. You know, of in the millions of conversations we've had about this, I feel like I say this every week. I don't think I've ever talked to you about this, but when you talk about your dad, like introducing you and your I was about to say band students, your band peers, his students, to like books. I think the very first, I don't know what to call these, like self-help seems a little too like hokey, but like business or philosophy doesn't really seem right either. I don't know, whatever you want to call these kinds of books, like the Energy Bus. I think the very first one I ever read was recommended by my band director when I moved into a leadership role, and it was How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, right? Andrew Carnegie's the billionaire, Dale's the author, I think. Yeah, it's a really old book. It's like the 20s probably, the 1920s, I guess I have to specify now. Um,
From this year.
it was an old book from January, back when the world was functioning and normal, and those were the days.
Yeah, back then.
I don't know. That's such an interesting thing to me, and that was eye opening to me. And I've read so many books like that. I think that was, I owe my band director a lot to opening my mind to what is possible in the world and what's out there. And I think that's really interesting that we both had like kind of similar things in that regard. I've never thought about
Right.
that before.
I hated reading. I am
Yeah.
self-diagnosed dyslexic. I'm a special education teacher. So whenever I started teaching special ed, I was like, wow, that would have helped me in elementary school.
Wait a minute.
So I'm not diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure I'm dyslexic. But anyway, I hated reading and I just never understood why everybody liked it. So whenever I started getting into high school and I started grasping onto these development and growth and those types of books, I was like, oh, I can become a better person if I'm reading and learning and opening my mind to these things. So it took me a long time to like understand Audible. Like I could listen to books, or
Right.
it just takes me a long time to read sometimes, and that's okay. But I think I finally latched on to, oh, these types of books that these influential people are telling me to read. Like it's because they got something out of that book, and then hopefully if they told me about it, then I would become a better leader, a better person because of it. So I think that's kind of where we both kind of bond a little bit as well. Like we bond over those books. Like that's how we develop, that's how we grow. So
That's true. So you've already made mention of this a little bit, but with the Energy Bus specifically, if somebody reads the book, if somebody takes the leadership program, what are some of the things they should expect to get out of the Energy Bus? Yeah, that didn't sound like the end of the question, but that was.
okay, awesome. I think the biggest thing is how to appropriately communicate. That is the biggest thing in the book, that you take away how to be passionate about something and get people on your bus or on your vision that you want to create. So I think one, it helps a group of people get on the same page. So get everybody on the same vision. Now, in the book, we try to specify that it shouldn't be like first place. That's never a goal that you want to set for yourself. That's not the vision. But talking about either growing your ensemble, like with numbers wise, like getting more people to come, or like those little benchmarks that don't have to do with like a score or achievement.
Right.
Those aren't things that you need to be focusing on because those aren't in your control. You should really focus on visions that are in your control. That way they're achievable, that you can no matter who's judging or no matter who else is at the show, those types of things, that you're still feeling like you're growing and your vision is being brought out. So it'll unify the vision and it will help you communicate that to people and get everyone in the same direction that you want to go.
It's cool. I'm a little ashamed I still haven't read it. That's like, it's on my big list for the year, but I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well,
It's
you've read like the direct, like you've read the student version, like what
yeah.
we put out. So I guess that's kind of like you reading it a little bit.
Yeah, well, it was funny because I was going through that. Like, I did some kind of post editing suggestion things on like the stuff that the students and directors get, and I was getting super motivated. Like, I've still got some post-its on my music stand. Here are my FJM posters, but I've got like these little post-its all over my music stand from like the different steps, and I refer to those pretty often throughout. Oh,
Love that.
yeah, so it's really
So
cool.
the cool thing about the book, what I should have started with this, good for me, is that the book is more engaged toward like adults. So the main guy in the book is like a grumpy old man in a marriage he doesn't like to be in, and gets a flat tire and is grumpy at his job. And those types of things aren't necessarily relatable
Right.
to high school kids, right? So if you just
Right.
gave them that book, they'd be like, I'm not in a marriage. I can't get a flat tire, like those types of things. So what we did is we kind of made our own story about at the beginning so they could kind of understand the points a little bit more, but to a high school student in band, right? So it kind of helps level out the field a little bit. If you just gave them the energy bus, they'd be like, I don't really know. They're not as connected. So
Right.
in this version, we actually have them connect a little bit more to the point and the story. So it kind of helps them lead to the points a little bit easier for a high school band student
Right.
to get to, you know?
Yeah. Um, I was about to ask you this question, and you've kind of already answered it. Just the book isn't required reading for the students. We've got the summary. I know when you were originally creating this and kind of coming up with the concept, you said it would be recommended that the director check it out. So
Yeah.
I think
I think that there is a benefit for the director to like either listen to it on Audible or understand the base story of it. Because in my head, I see, maybe this is just because I'm reminiscing on like what my dad used to do, but in my head, it would be like using the student workbook that we created to walk through all the steps, get to the questions. But if there's something that stuck out to you as a band director or as a staff member, and you want them to read that specific section, if it's legal, remember, to be able to copy that part of the book and show them that part of the book that really stuck out to you, that like the specific steps and all of the words for those specific steps, like those are important because you latched onto that and you have a special connection with your kids. You know what they're going to get out of it. You know what they would most benefit from. So the student workbook, you don't need to be able to read the book, but if the director did or the staff member, whoever's leading it, if they read the book, I think there's just a more personal connection if they understand the deeper things that we gloss over in the workbook.
right. Kind of lead them to the points and how they relate to, especially if you're a specialist already.
Yes.
Okay. I'm so in love with this process. We haven't even really talked about the process of teaching these classes and presenting these classes so much, and like how they're designed, because it's not just like here's a section, read, discuss. That's not really that's a good start. That's a good piece of holistic learning, but that's not the only thing. So talk me through like a chapter, like not necessarily a specific chapter if you don't want, but just like what does one section look like?
So the book, this specific book, is broken into like 40 or 50 chapters. So we didn't want to go through 40 or 50 chapters. So there are rules.
BuzzFeed doesn't even do that many.
Right, exactly. So there are rules. There are 10 rules that we kind of walk you through, and that they have steps attached to them. So what we do is for out of the 10 rules, we take one at a time. There is an activity that you can do with your students to kind of lead them to that idea. So every activity is kind of like a setup. They don't even have to look at the page yet. They can just, I hit my elbow.
Mercy.
Woo,
I heard that.
Yeah, like the funny bone, man. So they can do the activity and then go to the workbook and read the section that kind of helps lead you to the point, right? So we have activities that are just specifically for the directors to read, and they have debriefing questions at the end where they can ask the students like what they got out of it. We even have, you and I made a video about how to debrief, just like little tips and tricks that they can use to debrief the activities. That way, whenever you're leading to the workbook and leading to the points, it's like leading the horse to water, right? You don't want to just tell the horse to drink the water. You got to lead him to it. I don't know, but
You're doing great.
Thank you. The point though is that, isn't it, if you do, what's that? There's another quote.
Yeah. It's not coming to me.
But if you are, if you just read it, you're not going to learn it as well. But if you're doing it and you're engaging yourself in the process, then you'll learn. So I remember in high school, I always hated the activities because I was like, this is going to be so pointless. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I was that person. I was like, don't make me talk to these people. Like,
Right.
Don't want this. So a lot of these activities are kind of gauged to like be things they've never done before. So it's not be like, I don't want to do this. I've already done this 7 times in my psych class. Like one of those things. They're things that make you think. They're things that will lead you to the point without even being at the point at all. So the
list summary, like bullet point questions, is that
so
charades is hard.
Charades. Well, actually, I think we'd be really good at charades.
That's true.
The order of like ways that you would use the things that we provide in the
like the
leadership
sequence, right?
The sequence. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
I'm
you.
with you now.
Yes. So you would do an activity that is linked to the rule. You would read the rule. They would answer some questions. You do another activity. It would lead you to the rule that we summarize with some questions to debrief at the end. So that's kind of the point of the first few. At the end, we do have some that the rule works best if you do something tangible to like write down your goals and hold people accountable for those things. So the activities are noted in there that you should do some after the workbook pages, but that's all noted in the program. So
cool. Oh, I've got like a laundry list. One thing that I want to point out, since and I'll just say this for everybody, we know that there's a little bit of sickness going around. And so, Tori, you've designed all of these activities to be socially distanced. There's no touching. There's no like group huddle, anything like that stuff that we've done a lot at summer camp before.
Yes.
That's completely eliminated from this. So A, it's all socially distanced. B, if your group isn't meeting right now, you've provided like activities for online learning as well, right?
That's exactly right. So we've almost every rule, you can do these activities virtually. Like you can do this on a Zoom call. We could do most of these activities right now, that was something that we had to think about when designing these things. So we give you a little video of how you would do the activity, like if you were in person. So most people are in person right now, but who knows, in the next couple of weeks or days that could change. So
right.
We have the things that are in person, but then we have noted how you can adapt them to whatever your situation may be. Maybe you can be together, but you have to be socially distant. Maybe you're on Zoom. We've provided you all of those details on how to adapt the activities to fit your situation.
Yeah. So, I'm going to ask you a leading question now. And hopefully the people listening are going to be like, of course, you idiot. And if you are, you're my kind of director if you answer that to this question. But is there value in doing this if you're not going to have a fall season? Like, let's say that football across the country, because that's kind of the rumor in the last couple of days, is that everything's getting scrapped. Is there a point to doing any of this if you're not going to have a fall season?
You have touched a button with me. I might go on a little bit of a rant here. I truly wholeheartedly believe that if this season doesn't happen or it looks different, even if you're in sports right now versus band or color guard or whatever you're doing, your students are learning from what you're reacting to right now, right? This is an educational year, period. Doesn't matter if you're on the field. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Your students are still learning. You're still growing. So if this is a year where you're not on the field, or if this is a year where your season just looks so much different, I feel like that's even more important to do these types of leadership things and build that type of community, because imagine where you could be next year if that's what you focused on this year, right? So you don't want to take a year off of these things. No matter what your season looks like, building the development, building the growth, like that is and should be your main focus all the time, especially right now when your season may look a little different. I think I talk about this a little bit in the program as well. No matter what your season looks like, this year is going to be a pivotal point in your career. How you handle this right now is going to affect the future of your band programs. It is. Right. So whether you're freaking out or whatever, your attitude is then going to help your leaders, and then your leaders are going to affect your band, right? So anything that you're doing with your leadership team right now or your band right now, that's all a pivotal moment in how your next few years are going to be going. So yes, that pointed question hit a button, but it's so imperative, no matter where you teach, where you are, what you're doing. Like it's so important that you're still developing your students and developing leaders that are going out in the world and dealing with all this craziness that we're dealing with right now. So
yeah, man, marching band was my obsession in high school, still is. And it's hard for me to imagine being a senior this year. I know I'm not the first person to bring this up, and if you're a band director, you're like, yeah, this is what everybody's saying. It's hard for me to imagine being a senior, being like, yeah, this isn't going to be, it's either not going to be normal, may not happen at all, might look totally different. And I really think that you owe it to them to just give them everything you can, because they're going to go out. They're going to be, maybe some of them are music educators, but some of them are going to be business people and all sorts of types of people, and they deserve this kind of training too.
Absolutely. So even the seniors would benefit from this. And also I was the kid in middle school who was in the high school band. So I did 7 years straight of marching band. It's a lot of marching band. But I can't imagine all the seniors out there that have been through so many years. This is like the year, even the seniors that went through that in the winter with WGI, like you had no idea any of that was going to happen. So thinking back to that, like I feel like that just emphasizes so much, like living each of your days with your people, living this, like no matter what you're doing, like you have to go big, because you never know when it's going to be the last. You never know when you're going to be able to have like a normal life again at this point. So teaching them how to have that new normal and still have positives out of it is so important. I would have been devastated. I really truly needed a leader to be able to be like, hey, this sucks. It really sucks. We got to keep going. There's so much more to life. We can make a positive impact no matter what. So I needed that type of person in high school if I was in this situation. So I'm trying really hard to be that type of person for my middle schoolers that I have and my elementary kiddos, who I think are my elementary school kids are absolutely handling this better than I am. Like I'm like leaning on them a little bit, I think, to help me get through this. Like they're just like, all right, let's go. Let's do this. They're so adaptable, and I'm learning a lot through the eyes of an elementary schooler. So teaching our seniors to do those types of things, not just telling them, but leading by example. Mm-hmm. It's hard to change your heart like that. It's so hard when you're like, this sucks, because it does, but we have to really figure out we're training these people to go out into the world, right? So how do we want to leave them and let them go off and be productive members of the society,
I think anybody who's I think anybody who is really listening to young people right now. Like, I think what am I trying to say? Uh, so, when I was in school growing up and we had snow days, it was like the best day on earth, right? Like,
Absolutely.
missing school was the best possible thing that could happen. But now that we're, away for months, I think we're starting to realize what's really important, for kids, for adults, for everybody.
For sure.
And I don't know, it's a lot of things. I can say a lot of words to describe it, but I think it's really, returning to some level of normalcy, even if it doesn't look the same. But these kinds of, personal development for your students, I think they're going to love it. I think most of them that I've talked to, like, they really miss it. You know,
Oh my gosh,
which,
yes.
like, blows my mind as an adult, because I'm like, I wouldn't miss it, but, like, yeah, I totally would. It's hard to have that perspective. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's interesting. Um, wow. Okay. Cool. We've covered a lot. This is really great. Um, I just want to say personally, you mentioned debriefing earlier, and the way that we try and help students reach a level of understanding without us just telling them, right?
Yes.
Um, you spoke about that for a while, but that can't be overstated. I really think that, um, that approach to this, if you're interested in that level of education, or that approach, I guess, to education, is how I should say that. Um, like, I think that video alone is worth it, and that's part of um, what you get with the program. So if somebody purchases this program for their students, um, Tori, tell them a little bit about what they get physically, as part of that purchase, and then, like, other opportunities, whatever they get with that purchase.
So we created a student worksheet, which is 10, no, it's like 12 or 13 pages where the students can physically have a copy, or so you can print it off, or it's just a Google Doc. So you can send it out to them and they can have their own personal copy in Google. So that's super helpful if you're on Zoom like this. And then you get a director's little packet that has all the activities, which also has a few videos of me speaking about how to implement them, what this program is about, things like that. Also in that packet, we have a debriefing video with Jordan and I, which just talks about how to lead the students there and not just tell them like, hey, we did this because of this. Like, that's not going to be as effective as leading them to the point. So we've provided all of the questions you need for that as well. We have a supply list of all the supplies that you need for each activity, things like that. And then we've also included in the purchases, if you would like to have one of us run that with your students. So if you are on Zoom the next couple of weeks and you don't really know how to implement that, let's say that your school is going online and you want this to be part of your band program, well, let us either talk to you about how you would run this, or we can work something out where one of us is leading that. We have a ton of experience leading things with groups of students. It's really sad because right now we would technically be either in Arizona or leaving Arizona as part of the camps that we used to run together, and it's really sad. So that was one of our favorite weeks of the entire summer, was
Seriously.
getting to teach those students. They were very passionate, all about leadership, and oh man, that week was always electric. So we would love a chance to get back to teaching students again and feeling that passion, electricity again. So if you'd ever need a consultation either for yourself, if you want a staff member to lead this and not you as a director, or if you're a staff member and you want to tell the band director about this, whatever, so you can set up consultation with us about how to run it, or we could be the ones running it for your program. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Hey, thanks for hanging out today.
Yeah.
This
I'm
has
sure
been
we'll hang
fun.
out after this too, but you're
I'm
welcome.
sure we will. That's kind of our MO lately.
Absolutely. I've been FaceTiming Jordan every time I have a problem with my new house. Literally, I'll be like, "What about this?" Or, "Oh, I heard a noise. Will you help me?" And him and Holly have been super.
True. I got like 3 or 4 calls in a row last night of like, real quick, I just need you. Might be someone in the house. I don't really know. It was either the cat or like a wooden board creaking or something. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it wasn't a person. It's like 800 square feet in here. There's definitely no one hiding in this place. So,
You'd hear them sniffle. Oh
yeah,
my
for sure.
gosh. Cool. Before we wrap up, uh, Tori, just think for a second about final thoughts for directors on how to develop leaders, anything that might be missing or anything that you might just want to emphasize at the end. Before that, we do have some more just stuff coming down the pipeline. It's crazy. Yeah, we're like getting ready to maybe start or maybe not start Bandcamp, but we've got more info on our color guard resources, more on design and the different aspects there coming up in the next week or 2 or 3. So come check it out. We're a little bit in flux right now because we're all sort of in we don't know what's about to happen season, which I think everybody kind of is. But no matter what happens, we're going to find a way to support you, support your program. If you have ideas for what we can do to specifically support your program, topics you want to discuss, events that you think would be really, really cool, send it to us. info@musiceffectdesign.com. We'll get you in touch with us, and just whatever ideas you have, we want to do what supports your community, your students, and you as a professional. And with that, we'll wrap up. Tori, final thoughts?
I think the biggest thing when developing this program was for directors who we were developing it for. I think if you are a seasoned director and you just are looking for something that you don't necessarily have to plan, but you can lead really well, this is for you. If you are a new band director and you just need help with how to develop a leadership team, this is for you. I think no matter what stage you are in of this process, like I think this program will hit your needs for what you're looking for and how to develop these leadership skills you need in your students. So I'm so excited. I can't wait for schools to start trying this and just to be reaching students again. I don't know, it's my favorite thing.
It's something I know you really believe in. We really believe in as a company, and I'm excited that it's out there. So congrats on putting it together. For those of you interested, if you have any more questions, again, same email address, info@musiceffectdesign.com. We'll be happy to answer and help you out with anything you're interested in. And with that, we wish you a great night, a happy Friday, and we'll see you next week.